Today's interview on the Wildcats Network is only possible through the support of Team Steve Lamani at Realty One Group. Team Steve Lamani at Realty One Group offers unparalleled knowledge of the Westmoreland real estate market. Whether you're a first-time buyer or a seasoned seller, Steve Lamani at Realty One Group is here to guide you every step of the way. Give the team a call at 724-972-1543. or via email at steve@teamlamani.com. Thank you, Steve Lamani, for your generous support of the Wildcats Network.
Welcome back to the Wildcats Network for this playoff preview, as I'm now joined by Greater Latrobe head coach Brad Wetzel, head of their first-round PIAA playoff game against Exeter. And Coach, now that the WPIAL 5A playoffs have ended and you played 4 games in total, what would you say were the biggest takeaways from your 2 playoff games and your 2 consolation games?
Yeah, I think I almost have to make them individual lessons. I think the first game at Kiski was back against the wall. You're going against the section champion on their floor. Just one of those deals. Shows you a lot about the backbone of this team. That's a very unfriendly atmosphere and everything else, and they just refused to go away. Even when things didn't really go our way at points in the second half, they were able to sustain and fight. And then I would say we got some guys that are really knuckling down and showing a lot about how much this team means to them, playing through some nagging injuries and different things. I think the team respects that, and I think the Montour game, we had some guys that were a little bit banged up, and really, Rich had that game to a point where midway through the fourth quarter, it was a couple points, and we just missed an opportunity and let them slip away. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with them too. They went to the foul line, didn't miss, and made some great plays, and that's why they were number 1 in the state at the time. That at that point you wonder, can your team now retool, or is that it? A lot of times the tank's empty and there's not going to be anything left, and that wasn't the case. We came back, good workout, and then we came back on Monday. I believe it was Monday, or maybe it was a Tuesday. I can't recall, but early in the week, and played a really good Moon team on their floor. That was a big win for us, for all kinds of reasons. Number one, the seeding. It put us against a runner-up in those 2 districts, not the champion. So that was big. And then the final game, it's kind of a mystery why we've been so bad against Uniontown. We just haven't been ourselves. And some of the mysteries, not a mystery at all. They're really good. But it's not our. We don't do what we normally do. It just, there's something about that matchup that's not conducive to us playing our best basketball. But anyway, 3 games in 5 days, I think it was, and it just seemed like it was too much to get our best basketball. So we've regrouped since then, and now we're really excited to play what's the most important tournament in the entire state. And so at this point, it's one and done. Survive and advance. That's what it's all about, and we're pumped up as heck to be here.
I'm pretty sure that most people, when talking about, wanting to talk about your leading scorers after each game, the one thing about this team, especially as of late, I feel like over the past month, has been how well of a rebounding team you guys have become. What do you think has been so effective with your rebounding as a way to help control the games and get out and transition more?
Yeah, it's a great point. Rich, I would go back to the very beginning. I mean, I think it's probably been our greatest asset that we have guys that will go up and secure 2-handed rebounds. It's not always the same guy, but one of them that jumps out at me is Andy Tatch, who seems to get really big rebounds at really big moments. And everyone's done that. I mean, I could go down the board: Ian, John, Max, Kyle. Every one of them's gotten really big rebounds at really big moments. But sometimes I think Andy might have a few more than the rest. I mean, just the team. That's the first thing I think that happened this summer in the off season, where I said I might have something special here. Not necessarily 5 basketball players, but 5 athletes that can play basketball. A couple basketball players for sure. And then moments like that, like you said, clearing the glass, getting the rebound, outsized, but still coming away with the board. That's the kind of stuff that you really don't teach, and you're grateful when you see it and when you have it.
The one thing in the playoffs that I'm guessing that you probably have noticed is that teams probably try to limit possessions and try to work the clock a little bit more. I know that you really thrive in transition, trying to push the pace, but maybe the pace hasn't necessarily favored you guys in the playoffs. So what have you noticed necessarily from that half-court offense, knowing that it is so important in the playoffs? And how much have you emphasized kind of the control of the game through not just the 4 games you've played, but in preparation for the state playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and there's a lot that goes into the playoffs. Possessions seem to be more valuable. The ball is very valuable. The self-inflicted turnovers have to be to a minimum because all those teams are pretty much gone now. The teams that made it this far are teams that don't do those things, and so I think what also is left is teams that can win different ways. We're not a one-trick pony. I mean, I think there have been games where we've gotten the pace we wanted and felt very relaxed, and the ball was really fluid. And then there have been games where we just had to just hammer it out and grind. And our first playoff win against Kiski was kind of like that. We almost got the pace, we almost got things moving, but we really couldn't. So it was just a matter of own this possession, possess the ball, either get points or get to the foul line. Or conversely, on the other end, down at Moon, we had to have a stop. Our lead had gone down to 1, or maybe even we went down 1, and we had to get a stop, a big stop, and then came down the other end and converted. It's moments like that. So to your point, that's what playoffs for basketball is. And possessions seem to be extremely important.
One thing that always stuck out with me, it was a couple of weeks ago that Ian DeServe mentioned on one of our post-game shows about how it's always important for him to come out with the right mindset and making sure that his game isn't flat. And I think for about 90% of the season, you could say that all 5 starters have really followed that same mindset of coming out and starting well in games. So what is important about playing with not just the right energy and intensity to get the ultimate result, but even if it's not pretty in the stat column?
Well, I think winning in the playoffs is the heck with the stats, right? Whatever it takes. And so I think we're going to have to be we're going to have to be nimble as players and coaches to see something that's working, to see something that's not working, to know when we should just simply stick with what we're doing to make it happen, and the wisdom to know the difference. But we're excited. I think going out east on a big trip like this team's kind of built for that. From our Indiana trips to trips down the Mars, PA. I mean, this team travels well. This is a little bit more than normal, but the trip doesn't scare me. Just the stuff that you mentioned. You don't want to go in there and find yourself uncomfortable. As long as we're comfortable, as long as we're playing as hard as we can, we'll work through any scenario.
And going into your first state playoff game against Exeter, they were the second place team out of District 3. So what do you guys have to do in order to pick up the win and move on in the state playoffs? And it's win and survive, as you put it.
Survive and advance, right? I think they're a good rebounding team. They're very stingy on the defensive side. They really crowd the key. They make the driving lanes bunched up with their bodies. Offensively, kind of a unique team. Got guys that can really score different ways. Real quick release, a lot of mid-range jump shots. It's a shot that some people are trying to push out of basketball, but these guys shoot a lot of them. But well coached, very well organized, strong kids. The pace might be difficult to get where we would like it, and we don't want them dictating the pace. Both teams can play both ways. I've seen them run. I've seen them kind of slow things down. We want to make sure we're dictating which way to pace, because that's going to be vitally important. And to your point, the team that rebounds the best wins, period.
Coach, as always, thank you, and best of luck against Exeter.
Thanks, Rich.